orthodoxy on marrying outside of the faith.
In the Jewish religion, how does the afterlife work?
How do you feel about a German Muslim?
I think the guys were Arab, but like it was orchestrated by the Israelis.
Now, what is the significance of the haircut with the curl?
Adam and Eve were born white. Why is there black people?
Once again, Meaningful Minute has sent me out to talk to people and to answer questions. Here in Times Square, we are here on a beautiful sunny morning, looking to meet people and talk to people. How are you doing, my friend? I'm Rabbi Shoff.
Morning,
It's a pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Alejandro.
Yes, sir.
It's good to meet you. This is picking you up,
Okay.
and I got one over here, so.
Okay, perfect. So my question is, if Adam and Eve were born white, why is there black people?
That's a really, really good question. Let's say they were born black.
Okay, so then why is white people?
How did it happen that all the races came to exist? Is that the question? If humanity started out with only two
color, yeah.
people. It seems to me that adaptation is part of the human gene. For example, let me ask you a question. Did Adam and Eve have cells?
Well, basically
Did they have They had DNA.
Yeah.
If that's the belief of a creationist, that they had DNA, then I could look at the DNA and find out who their mother and father were, right?
Okay.
Isn't that right? I mean, that's what's in the DNA. Did they have recessive genes? They had to have.
Okay.
The belief that God created two people as a literalist reading of the Bible, that they were the first two people. So, smart question. But what it means is that it was a complete world. If God created a tree, let's say, so did that tree have rings?
Should have.
It should, which means if I dropped somebody into the Garden of Eden, according to the Bibles, 1 minute after creation, a scientist, they would see an old world. They'd be like, if there's a tree, there must have been acorns. Where did acorns come from? And that from another tree.
Yeah,
So you'd see Adam and Eve looking 20 years old, and you'd see that they have grandparents in their DNA. In which case, it's not a question. There was a lot of potential in those original human beings. A black man, a white, whatever you see in humanity would go back to them.
Okay.
Now, you might say that's unlikely. I don't know why it's unlikely, but if there's an infinite God who wanted to create the world, and he decided instead of letting it happen by accident, he would just start it right there and fast forward through billions of years of what science only tries to say.
So what you're trying to say is that there's a life before Adam and Eve.
Not really. Not that there weren't actually people, but that God created a complete world.
Okay.
In which case he had DNA and he had cells, and that the potential for people of different races and colors would have been in Adam, just like they're in a person who's of mixed race, who can have a black child and a white child. And I think that's a very important thing to realize. That's the claim of someone reading the Bible. Somebody will come and say, wait a minute, the world looks billions of years old. How could you believe it's less than 6,000 years from Adam and Eve? Yeah. And the answer is it's not a question. That's the position. The position is it should look. The minute the world was created, it looked billions of years old. And if you would ask me...
It doesn't mean it was...
That's right. That's the position, is that God made it. Does that add up?
Yeah, it actually
A lot of people
sense.
will really ask. They'll say, wait a minute. I would agree that if I was dropped into the Garden of Eden and I had to figure out how did this happen from a Big Bang until now, I'd come up with the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, maybe with the help of Darwin, whatever. Like, I don't know if I've thought of it, but if we believe God made it at a certain stage...
I actually understand you. It makes sense.
So I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I mean, I obviously believe that's it, but I'm saying it's not a question. The age of the universe is not a question to a creationist. Why does it look that way? That's the position, is that it looks that way.
So, if...
This is a smart guy.
So the thing is, if, let's say, they were both black, and I understand what you were telling me about...
If they're both black and they both had the potential within their DNA for whatever was to come out further...
How could they become white?
If you have two black people who both had white mothers, their child could be white.
But supposedly...
It's a recessive gene. It could happen.
Okay.
That's how you have the red hair. So, and it makes a lot of sense that God would... There's a teaching in the Mishnah, which is about 2,000 years old, which says, why does the Torah tell the story? Why does the Bible tell the story and let us know that every human being came from Adam? So that every human being should know that they all come from the same place. Every person can achieve greatness, connection to God, be a good person. No person is superior to another. It's a terrible perversion in the world. When people have said, because you're born this way or that way, if you're born white, there is no white guilt. If you're born black, you're not inferior. All those lies. It's a very big mistake. And it was terrible when they did it to black people, but it's also terrible to do it now to a little white boy and say, listen, you're born with the mark of Cain, and you're stained, and you're evil. Human beings all come from Adam, and they all have the potential to be good, holy, beautiful.
Pretty solid answer, sir.
You're a good man, Alejandro. I
Yeah,
liked
too.
meeting you. You came by smiling. You seem like a pleasant person. I wish you the best.
You too, sir.
I'm Rabbi Shoff. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Matthew. This is for you. So what do you say? You must see Jews around. You must see them in the news. What you got to ask me something. Like what's...
Yeah. So who did it?
9/11.
That's a really good question.
You guys or was the Arabs?
It was the Arabs. Who of the Middle East?
The truth is I have no idea. I know who seems to have flown the planes. Do you think those were Israelis?
Hey, hold on.
It's a fair question. I'm not
speaking on this.
you could tell me it was my own family. I wouldn't get mad at you.
I'm holding the mic.
Yeah, listen.
He knows a lot about this.
Thank you for being my mic guy, by the way. You seem pretty awesome.
I think the guys were Arab, but like it was orchestrated by the Israelis
Now, why do you think Israelis would want to do that?
to like cause conflict, you know? So like investors, they can make money off the war.
I hear you. Listen, I don't know who did it, but I'm interested in this question. Here's my question for you. When you said you guys, I mean, I'm not Israeli. Do you understand what I mean? I'm American. I was born in Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. So I am Jewish, and I feel an ancestral connection to the land of Israel, right? Where, like in our religion, every time we pray, we face Jerusalem, right? Like that's a big part of our religion. People around the world are hating Jews for things that they're upset at Israel for.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No.
I feel like you accidentally fell into that trap. Do you know what I mean? When you said to me that you guys do 9/11
You guys listen like
as my religion.
like Israel. Yeah.
But in other words, if you met a, it's interesting, right? It's an interesting thing that the Jews around the world are suffering now because a Jewish student who goes to Columbia, who's never been to Israel, who doesn't know anybody in Israel, is likely to get beaten up trying to go to class because they're Jewish. No, that's happened many, many times. Yeah, and they were blocked out of classes. There's lawsuits in UCLA because Jews were told you're not safe on campus by the university, which is like, what's that have to do with Jews? Like, if you're a member of the IDF, then we can argue, is it a just war, what's going on in Gaza? You understand? What do you think about that? Would you say categorically that that's totally off? That even if the Israeli government, and you accept like what I consider a conspiracy theory, but not every conspiracy theory is necessarily wrong. You know, I really don't think the Israelis did it. I want you to know something. There is a prayer called Slichot that Ashkenazic Jews and Sephardic Jews both do before morning services leading up to Rosh Hashanah. That's every day, and it causes prayers to be about 20 minutes longer. The observant Jews who worked in the Twin Towers were almost all 20 minutes late that whole week. So people say, but it's only the religious ones who go to prayer services every morning. Now, that was a mistake in planning if the goal was to get Jews, because they would have known every year it was that way. But people saying the Jews in the building were tipped off, it's a terrible misunderstanding. Jews all around the world, and you can look this up, go to Slichot on the month before Rosh Hashanah or the week before, depending on their custom. And this was the week before. And then after Rosh, or maybe it was after Rosh Hashanah? I forget if it was before or after, but it goes till Yom Kippur. I mean, that's an important piece of cultural information to know. Is there any other proof that you have or that you've seen? Because it sounds like you know a lot about this. Grab that mic so we...
Wasn't there like a few Israelis that took pictures at the towers, like right before it like happened?
Is that true?
Yeah.
More Israelis than other people?
No, like right before it happened, they were like at a van and like that one. Yeah.
Where do you know that from? That's interesting to me.
I read about it like a while ago.
Do you also think that that the United States was behind it too?
Yeah. I think the United States was behind a lot of things, like the MLK assassination.
Didn't they declassify all the papers?
No, that was for JFK, but I'm talking about...
No, but he also said also Martin Luther King.
Oh, Martin Luther King. I haven't read the declassified MLK papers, so...
Interesting. I guess we're going to find out. Why did they want to kill MLK?
Like, they thought he was a communist. And,
but they didn't want to kill... They were killing communists?
Like, the FBI, they sent a letter to him, like, telling him to kill himself. Yeah, hold on. I think I can pull it up. Wait.
You have the original picture of the letter? So what else? What else? Tell me more. It's okay. Listen, anybody watching this can Google that and just type in letter from the FBI.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you? Do you like then that Trump is trying to clear out the swamp and release things?
Nah, I don't think Trump's a good president.
But do you like that? What he's doing? Releasing files? You say yes. Do you say yes?
I think, that releasing files is a pretty
I
good
mean, it
thing.
sounds like he's getting through a lot of this swamp and saying, why is money going here? Why is money going there?
Yeah.
That part's good, right?
Yeah.
What are the things you don't like?
Things I don't like?
Him flattening Palestine or like Gaza.
Did he? Well, I mean, he didn't.
Hmm?
He didn't. It's not American planes doing that.
Well, I mean, he said before
That he supports it.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything, by the way,
Gaza.
you probably understand that the people in Gaza are expressing resistance. Is that right? Is there anything when you're doing resistance, is there anything you can't do? In other words, should I go home and tell my children today and say, listen, children, if you're walking in the supermarket and somebody brutally rapes and murders you, you have to accept it's resistance. Should I tell that to my children?
No.
No, but we're Jews living in America. I mean, are we fair game?
No.
What if we visit Tel Aviv? Should I tell my children that if somebody just decides to rape you in front of your mother and then murder you and kill your siblings, that's legitimate because resistance? Or should I say, I will do anything in my power to protect you from that?
Yeah.
You would say that?
Yeah.
So you see why this is a big problem. Because October 7th was unbelievable. And they live streamed it. There's no way. They were wearing GoPros and they announce it and you'll have people out there saying, they didn't rape. So like, yes, we did! In the name of Allah! They're saying they did it. I mean, that's true, right?
Yeah.
They're announcing it and they videoed it. And we have more evidence for that than we do probably of anything in the last 100 years. So don't we need to, and they're saying we'll do it again as many times as we can. They're saying that. So even if their cause is right, is there a point when going into kindergarten and just raping and killing that you could say it's for sure wrong 100% of the time, even if you're the resistance? Do you think there's any hope? I look at you guys, I have no hatred for you. I think you seem like nice people. You're probably you will be good to your children and wives and parents and live a good, right? When you look at Jews like me or others, do you see a similar thing? Do you see these are decent people who want good for the world?
Yeah.
When you look at Americans, do you see that? Even Trump supporters? Or do you see like...
Yeah, of course.
So that's what I'm wondering. In other words, if the government of Israel or the government of your country that you're living in, United States, are you guys are citizens?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're not pleased with every choice they make and you even think there might be conspiracies, right? But the people are us.
Yeah.
Do you think we can love each other and get along and not kill anybody? So what's a path to that in the Middle East? What's a story? If the Israelis put down all their weapons tomorrow and just stopped, what would happen to them?
Peace.
Do you think that?
Yeah.
Do you don't think the Hamas would come in and do the October 7th? Well, so I'm convinced that if we put down our weapons, right, as an Israeli country, right, and I'll say we, that we would all be killed. I'm convinced of it, and every geopolitical expert in the world says that. I'm convinced that I'm convinced of this, that if the Palestinians all said, we made a mistake, we don't believe in jihad, we don't believe in killing all Jews, we want to live at peace, that we would go and hug them. I'm convinced of that.
Hamas and
It's very difficult because they keep electing more and more. We keep killing everyone from Hamas and they just keep finding more people. The Palestinian people are largely, they voted for Hamas, they believe in this. As soon as I saw protests this week though, of some people going in the street and saying no. That's good. That's very encouraging. Hamas was voted in by the majority. It's a big problem. I just want to say this, honestly. You guys seem like good people, and I believe that the majority of the human race is good people. And you should just know that there's nice people on all sides. And is that a fair thing to say? Okay, you guys are the best. You got to move on to the next one. I'm going to shake your hand also. I don't think it's true. Israel didn't do it, by the way. It's just not true. Hello, my friend.
Pleasure to be
I'm Rabbi Shoff. It's an honor.
So 2 questions for you. The first one, I wrap tefillin every day. The reason I do is because my grandfather wraps every day. My dad wraps every day. But I don't know what the religious reason for wrapping tefillin is. What's the point?
Okay, so the first thing to say is that God is infinite, and when he gives an instruction to do something, it's possible that we don't really know the entirety of how powerful it is and what it does.
Okay.
So any answers that we give, even in our tradition, are a little bit of a taste. It's something we can learn from it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I would just say that before we put on our hand tefillin and our head tefillin, there is something in the siddur which gives us a clue. It's not obligatory to say, but some people have the custom to say it. And it says, I wrap my arm because human action is represented by our arms, the things we do, and I bind that, right, to God. In other words, I'm committing to use my energy, my strength, my wealth, my attentions to make the world a better place, to make myself a better person, and to be in service of my values and ideals, as opposed to for other things. And then I wrap my head, which is the source of my soul. That's where my soul is. The neshama, the soul, which is in my brain. So that's my thoughts, my feelings, my memories, who I really am. And our sages tell us that it's very significant that we do the arm first. Because a lot of times there's things that we believe, but how we behave helps influence what we believe enormously. So just sitting there and being like, I believe in world peace, like everybody will tell you that.
Right.
But will they actually go and take money out of their pocket? Are they actually kind to a person that they're meeting on the street? So I saw today, a person who was talking about world peace, who got in a violent fight with somebody else over a seat here in Times Square. And that person is out there saying world peace, that's what they're talking about, but not with the person next to them. We say the actions are first, and the ideology will develop and grow and be influenced by that.
Okay.
So the tefillin goes on the arm first, we wrap that, and we wrap the tefillin on our head. That's one explanation.
That's fair. Why the seven wraps?
That's a good question. The truth is, according to the Torah, it doesn't have to be 7. That became a later tradition.
Okay.
It's a very, very fair question of what 7 and why on the arm. I will only point out that the area of the head, in a certain way, would seem like the spiritual, the area of the spirit, right? Human creativity. And the arm would almost be like physical, like a manual laborer.
Right.
We know that throughout the Bible, the number 7 is always associated the 7 days of creation.
770.
Well, I'm not a Lubavitcher, but yeah. And the number 7 is always and consistently related to natural and this world, so that the number 8 is always one above that, and that's circumcision. It's like we'll overcome the natural way our body was built and try to live to a higher ideal. And therefore, it's suggested by some that number 7 relates specifically to our human action, our engagement in the physical world, and how that needs to be done. And that's perhaps, but it's just a theory.
Is that one of the things, though, that you mentioned? Hashem says it, so we just do it because He said it, and it is what it is?
It's a good question, because if
is,
I
is
tell you...
Is tefillin a mitzvah in the Torah?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually in the Shema. If you read the Shema, it says bind them on your arm and place them as totavos in your eyes. So that's right in there, in more than one place in the Torah.
Okay.
But then that's tefillin. Whether or not you have to wrap it 7 times, I don't believe is biblical. So that becomes a tradition, and the question is, what's the depth of that? What's the source of that? When it comes to those things, they're often very deep and very mystical. But yes, I think the typical religious Jew would say it's not conditional. And that's very much the message of the hand before the head. I want very much to understand this, but it's not. If I don't know why my wife likes roses, I just don't know why. Does she care about flowers? I'll buy you a freaking cactus, and when it dies, right, I'll get you another one. Like, what do we need for that? But if she likes it, then, and it's an act of love for me to say, it doesn't matter. I'd love to understand it because I love you, and if I could understand that, I'd understand you more.
Right.
But I don't need to. And that's a very valuable attitude in life, is that the arm, the action comes before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I think the beauty of it is, again, I'll tell you the backstory. My grandfather visited me when I was in college, and he asked me if I wrapped tefillin, and I thought he knew I didn't. So I was like, no. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, look, I wake up, the sun is not up. I come back from class, the sun is down. That was like my BS excuse. And he's like, it's a bad excuse because when it's 5 a.m. in Boston, it's already like noon in Jerusalem. So you need to wrap tefillin.
Wow.
I'm like, it made me open my eyes because I'm like, my dad does it every day. Both my grandfathers did it. And it's just like one of those lineages that
goes back years.
Keeps the people together.
Did you grow up in an otherwise observant home?
Decently observant. I'm not going to tell you we're not strictly
But that was the
kosher,
expectation when you hit bar mitzvah to start wearing it?
Yeah, 100%.
And you went to Jewish schools where?
No, I went to public school in Florida.
So it was a real act.
I went through Hebrew school, throughout.
Right.
We had that background.
Wow.
Let me ask you, how would you explain kosher me'adrin?
In Israel.
Difference in Israel.
Okay, so there are different standards of kosher. In other words, just as an example, if you have a meat restaurant, I was once in the airport in Israel, and I went to buy a drink at what was at the time called Burger Ranch. I went to buy a drink, and it said kosher, and I asked the woman there, who was actually an Arab worker, And I said, how often does the rabbi come by? And she looked at me like there was something off about that. She said, I never saw one. And she asked other workers, he's asking about a rabbi. He says that nobody working there had ever seen anybody come to supervise. So the problem is then that you could have all kinds of things being cooked on them. There's rules about what, Jews supposed to turn on the fire and all different things. What kind of meat is really coming in? Does someone just warm their lunch up and then that cross-contaminates?
Right.
And so some levels of kosher will have more regular supervision. Some
So
will.
Medjugorje is like the strictest.
The hadrin means, in America, that's mainstream kosher. You don't have the lower standards too much.
So a normal restaurant in New York City
It says
is
block
Medjugorje.
kosher, that's mahadri. In
Oh,
Israel,
okay.
where the government is involved, basically you can have a lot of other standards.
Right.
That's my understanding. I'm not in the industry, but that's what's been explained to me. And look, everybody's at different places. I mean, in America, there's still places you can get meat that's kosher, but not glot.
Right.
But glot is a higher level. It's
Okay.
so
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because my uncle is from, and when I went to Israel with him, he not only did it have to be Mehadrin, but
certain
he would
ones.
ask for the shkacha to the waitress.
there it's actually a normal, socially acceptable thing.
Okay, interesting.
Say, can I see the Tzudat Kashrut? Yeah, in America, you're like, want to bury
I
yourself.
was like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
just
I remember my
trust
sister
the
explained
sign
that
on
to
the
me when
door.
I was like 11 years old visiting Israel. She was
Yeah.
married. She's 12 years older than me, so she was living there. I was 13. I don't know. And she said, like, you should just know here, it's an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
People are proud, like, it's.
Fair. Last one from me. What is the Orthodox view on marrying outside of the faith?
The Orthodox view of marrying outside the faith is that it's the ultimate betrayal
Okay.
of Jewish values. And at the
I
same
agree.
time, we've had to come to a point where we understand that many, many people who do so don't even know that.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't understand why. If you love someone and you enjoy their company, and so I think the Orthodox view should be that despite this being a very, very big mistake and betrayal, that it should be understood with a very open heart. To say this person was raised not understanding this. They found somebody who they truly care about, and to not be able to, on a human level, understand that, though we disagree with it strongly, we can understand where that person's coming from and love them and almost commiserate with, like,
Yeah.
I think that's very important because
Yeah,
that's the
it's-
reality. In history, it was a real betrayal. Nowadays, the person doesn't know that.
I think that's one of the biggest threats to our people right now. It's not the Palestinians. It's us not keeping our culture. And when you intermarry, it opens up such a can of worms.
But you should just know that you putting on tefillin every day, what makes Judaism meaningful is not just a bunch of people keep marrying Jewish. It's only if we live
you pass
with
down the
real Jewish values
traditions,
and you
door
feeling
to
that
door.
deep connection. My
100%.
grandparents did this, and their parents for thousands of years, and they were spit on for doing it.
Yeah.
And they were that's heroic that you put them on every day.
Yeah.
It would
It's a
be
beautiful
less.
thing. I do it outside a lot of times, and I mean, I live in New Jersey. I know no one's gonna do anything because Baruch Hashem, we live in a more acceptable society these days.
You should just
Now,
know. You should just know between you and me that it can't stop at tefillin.
for sure.
You've got to keep latching on. I mean, the big saver is Shabbos.
Yeah. So
It saves families. It's the greatest source of all blessing.
So my Rebbetzin, I go to the Chabad in Chelsea, Chabad Young Professionals, and she always says, it's not the Jews that kept Shabbat, it's Shabbat that's kept the Jews. And I think it's so true. And look, I work right here at an investment bank, and it's like that Friday night, like to the point that my bosses know, at around like 5, 6, I'm out, and it's like, I don't care what's happening. I'm going to sit at a table with other Jews, drink some wine, eat some challah, and once I leave, then we're back to the world. But those few hours of Friday night, Saturday morning, they're mine. No one's going to touch it.
If it matters to you that your children and grandchildren will be proud Jews, you got to stick with this and you got to expand it, which is that you got to keep the whole Shabbos. You got to keep 25 hours. You have to, or you will lose.
That's a goal. That's a goal.
You have to do it. Right. So how do you do it and how do you grow in the healthy way? But you should just know in your head, it has to be. Don't marry somebody who's Jewish but not willing to keep 25 hours of Shabbos. And you'll sit with your children and you'll play board games and you won't. That is going to save.
Yeah,
It's without a question.
One of my old bosses, he was from, and he's super successful managing director. I mean, one of the best we had, at least one of the best that I worked with. And he'd say Friday night. I mean, I'd call him sometimes on Fridays, like I'm walking to synagogue. If you can't explain it to me in the next 5 minutes, it's a Sunday problem. He's like, this is my time with my family. I don't care what's going on at work. He's like, if there's an urgency, you guys are more than welcome to Uber to my place in Jersey, and I'll open the doors for you. But my phone is not going to be open. My emails won't be open. Saturday night. And you can tell that time for him really kept him very.
It says in the
very
Lachadodi, it says that the Shabbat is Makor HaBracha. It's the source of blessing. It will bring you financial blessing. It will bring you blessing in your relationships. And it's something we got to push. It's too late. It's too late. Like, you're putting on tefillin every day. Like, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. It takes courage. But like, Shabbos is central.
Yeah.
And like, make sure you build that in. You're going to build a family. It will last for many generations. Your greatest memories in your life will be with your children on your lap and your grandchildren on your lap, singing on Shabbos and experiencing with them.
Yeah. Last one for me now. For the Jewish people that are like the Jews for Palestine group, they're still as Jewish as, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. What do you think is the best way to, open their eyes and save them and bring them back to like...
Wow. I thought about it endlessly, like anyone. I think that...
Well, one, what do you think went wrong that they have these views against their own...
How does it happen?
Right, how does it happen, and then how do we bring those people back?
Here's the true answer. I really think this... people are not lab rats. So to say one thing for everyone is very difficult, and it may not be it. But this is true in many cases. The following thing works. Listen to this. I read a story once in a book called Like Yourself and Others Will Too by Professor Abraham J. Tversky. It's one of his first books. It's written like 80 books. So he says in there that he met a guy named John, who was he's a psychiatrist, and came to him and said the following. He was a nice-looking guy, struggled with self-esteem, was dating a beautiful nurse named Carol. And they were probably going to get married. She was going home to visit her parents for Thanksgiving, and she decided to tell him that she was planning to meet up with like a former friend of hers who was like a high school football jock and whatever. This guy became convinced that she was going to fall in love with this guy and dump him. And he became so obsessed with this that he sent a telegram, that's how long ago this was, to her parents, saying, congratulations, in a few short months, you'll be the parents of a new baby.
Okay.
Indicating that she's promiscuous, and she thought he's crazy, and she dumped him, and he was relieved. Years later in therapy, he says, here's what happened. He says, I knew I was going to get dumped. To get dumped for who I am was too painful. To get dumped for a stupid prank, that I could live with.
Yeah.
You know the little boy in the schoolyard who pulls the girl's hair?
Right.
Because he likes her. Yeah. He knows he's going to get rejected. No, it's because I tease her.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to be hated for who you are. He mentions another guy who told him that he became an alcoholic because he knew it was a piece of garbage. But at least he'll be hated for his alcoholism, but not for himself.
Fair point.
The world hates Jews. A lot of people just hate Jews. It's irrational, right? They hate Jews. To be hated for who you are is tough. To be hated because there's some Israeli soldiers who are jerks it's like an enormous weight off their shoulders.
Okay.
And I think that's very attractive. I really think that. What do you mean? Look at me. You hate Jews? You won't hate me? Because I'm not on the side of that bad stuff. And I think that's very, very appealing. But there's a second consideration also, is that when a person gets their values from elsewhere, outside of Judaism, outside of Torah, their values are just from whatever they're picking up from CNN.
Yeah.
So then it can be very hard to reach a person. And I think therefore the combination of deep Jewish pride, knowing who you really are, and therefore this is a symptom. They're supporting of Palestine. You will not win by telling them facts or telling them a whole bunch of things. It won't do anywhere. But if you can help that person build deep Jewish pride, a sense of Judaism, and a sense of where their core values come from, that's not just something that with 2 or 3 questions it falls apart.
Yeah.
Because they don't have it from anywhere. It's just from CNN. It's just,
Yeah.
Then that's going to solve the problem. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be Jewish pride and really exploring Judaism itself.
Yeah.
And if they get anywhere in that, those other values will start to disappear and start to dull. Yeah. But it's like someone has a symptom. Painting over the symptom does nothing. Yeah. You got to solve the malady.
Look, I'll add to that. I don't think it's just Jewish pride. I think it's visual Jewish pride. I mean, look, I wear my Israel bracelet. I have like necklaces here that I wear to work all the time, and like, if more people are comfortable being visually Jewish, then the other Jew that's proud but shy will be like, well.
So you're headed towards the yarmulke all day. That's what you're telling me.
Maybe one day.
That's what you're telling me.
Maybe one day. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I think that's a solution.
I really, really enjoyed talking to you. I mean,
yeah, I know, this is awesome.
Yeah.
My friend, she goes to Torah, and she was dropping off this Mishloach Manot from my mom in Florida.
That's so nice.
She sent me a picture of you on the way. I'm like, yeah, we got to stop by.
Cool.
I won't take up much more of your time.
I really, really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for doing this, by the way.
Absolutely. I'm Rabbi Shoff. What's your name?
Nicole.
It's good to meet you, Nicole.
Nice to meet you. So I have a question, because my uncle, he's Jewish and he passed away the past 2 years. I want to understand kind of how, in the Jewish religion, how does the afterlife work? And how, because I never really learned that as a kid growing up. I didn't get to go to Hebrew school, but I still like participated with them. So now that they're gone, like they're the ones I would usually ask those questions anyway. So
Wow, what a good
Yeah.
question. The afterlife. So it's a very complicated topic because you are not your body. If you got a leg transplant, I hope you never need anything like that. But if we could switch someone's legs, switch their heart, switch their ears, you'd be you anyway.
yeah,
What if you forgot stuff? You're still you. So what's you? Your mother, did she love you very much?
Yeah.
Does she love you very much?
yeah,
No one's going to love you like your mother. What does she love? I mean, what if you got, God forbid, someone gets hit by a car and they forget everything? Their mother still loves them. So what's you? That thing that's the you that your mother loves, the real part of you, that's called your soul. And it's not physical, it doesn't have a shape, it doesn't enjoy food and drinks, but that's you. That's where all pleasure happens.
yeah,
That's your real self. That's forever, that's eternal. And the afterlife is when a person can kind of shed their body. No amount of joy that exists in this world can be compared to the joy of the afterlife.
yeah,
That's the purpose. And people are born with a relationship with that. And depending upon how a person lives their life is the extent that they will really enjoy and appreciate
yeah,
the existence once they're free of their body. A person who spends their time in this world just yearning for like physical stuff, whether it's a drug or alcohol or food, right? Or relationships between men and women or anything like that. When they die, they're still going to exist
yeah,
and they're going to crave it and they're going to feel very alone because they don't have a body anymore. So they want to engage in intercourse or eating or whatever it is, and they can't because, so that's how we understand the afterlife. Depending how you live this life, if you learn to get real pleasure out of the bigger things, out of giving, out of love, out of deep things, then that becomes who you are. And then for all of eternity, you're that person.
yeah. That's beautiful. I love that, and it helps a lot too because I feel their wisdom and their strength a lot more than I ever did when I was, able to see them in their own physical body. I feel like I just feel their energy more.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you so much. That really helped.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Okay, it was nice to meet you.
You too, love.
Wishing you the best.
You too.
Joining us here in Times Square is the sponsor of our episode, whose name is Zalman Michel, and he is the CEO of a very important company called Skive, Skive, Skive. You're going to want to know about this company, and here's why.
At Skive, basically what we do, instead of going the typical route of building custom software with custom development, we take off-the-shelf solutions and customize them for your business. So instead of spending a ton of time and a ton of money building out a custom solution, we take solutions like Airtable, SmartSuite, Monday, Pipedrive, and Make.com, Zapier, and things like that, where we can add in a ton of automation and a ton of AI into your workflow, and we're able to really help you work through your day, work through your tasks properly, and not have to spend time on the simple things again and again and again, and get real good custom solutions for your business.
You're doing good work. Don't spend a ton of needless money or time that you don't have to, because Skive can save you that and improve your business tremendously. So they will always have a tremendously special part in my heart as sponsors of this episode and the very first sponsor of Ask Me Anything with Rabbi Shoff. So I just want to thank you for that. Thank you for buying in to our vision. And I hope you are endlessly successful.
Yeah,
I mean, you already are, but you should be further successful.
Thank you. What I do want to say is I sponsored a podcast a while ago. And then when the videos of you came out, I think I told you this already, but my wife and I both immediately loved it. And we both immediately felt that you really addressed the questions really well and in a very meaningful way.
Wow.
And you don't, skip around or not answer the question, like some of the typical, like in a news segment where they're asked a question and they answer something completely else. So we both really, really liked it. And it was really nice to see the videos that you put out.
I'm super honored. All right, you hang on to this. First of all, it's nice to see another redhead. This brings me joy.
Listen,
We're a little tribe,
are you red up top?
I was as a kid until very
I'm
recently.
not red up top though.
Am I-
It's
what do you
the German in me. But that's what comes from my. We're on.
We're on.
Yeah. All right. So check this out. Right. How you doing today, Rabbi?
I'm really good.
Yeah. My name is Shaggy the Don. I did a freestyle performance with Channel 5 for the Free Luigi, the Luigi
Can you
rally.
give me 2 lines about like what we're doing right now, freestyle?
Right now.
Should I beatbox?
That's gonna cause.
Whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa.
Yo, listen, you gotta throw another 20 because he wants me to rap now. I'm telling you, I get paid.
Two
to
lines.
Rap. Two lines.
Two
$10.
lines.
$10. 2 lines. You gonna give me $10?
2 lines. Give us 2 lines.
$10. I said I'm sitting here at this table and I'm going crazy. The rabbi said he want me to ask him a couple questions. I said it's crazy how they love me. I don't even ask no questions. I said it's crazy. I give you more than 2 lines. If the things that I'm thinking about to ask you, you gonna tell me your response. Hold on. Listen. My first question is, how do you feel about a German Muslim?
I want you to know something very, very important.
No. From a religious standpoint.
From a religious standpoint, I believe that Islam
Yeah.
is absolutely the most. So I actually have one on my lapel.
Oh, you have one too? Okay.
Yeah. So I believe that Islam is the most authentic in terms of its pure monotheism as Judaism. I think that in terms of that, it's right. I don't accept, obviously, the same way that a Muslim doesn't accept everything the Jews believe. We don't share all the same beliefs entirely, but I have a lot of respect for Muslim ideology and Muslim thinkers throughout the years in terms of their awareness that there is only one God and nothing else. In terms of Germans, people are people. People are people. If they're kind and nice to others, I love them.
My next question is this, right? With what the Jewish community has gone through, right?
In Germany and other places.
In Germany with the Holocaust and everything, not to bring that up on you know, I am German, but my family was created after the Holocaust.
Was it just spoof? Like, how did they?
No, we moved. They was moved over there.
Oh, so where were they before?
Dutch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my Dutch family moved over 100 years ago, basically.
To Germany.
You know what I'm saying? To Germany. And
but after the Holocaust.
They were there, but after
the Holocaust was in 1948. So
yes.
in the 40s.
No,
1942.
No. I'm gonna get to that. 100 years, like a little over 100 years ago, they was over there, the Dutch, right?
They were in Amsterdam.
They were in Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam was a neutral zone, so to speak. There was no war in there.
Got it. And then they moved to Germany.
And then from there they moved to Germany.
Listen,
and
I don't have any beef with Germans either.
No. And that's what I love though. You know what I'm saying? And but there are some people in the all right, my question is, how do you feel about the people that are in some of the Jewish community that discriminate and judge all people from German community?
It's a good question. I've never ever met anybody like that. I have met people who don't want to support like buying German cars. I've met that. It's
German
not
cars
so common anymore.
are
like a
to
Mercedes
be honest,
or something.
They suck.
BMW, Mercedes. There are people that don't.
Can
want
I be honest with you? Why? I don't like German cars because if you buy a German car and it breaks down, you have to buy from the lot the German parts that like regular dealerships don't sell it.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying? So I'd rather just drive a Nissan. But my third and my follow-up question is, what do you expect in the next 10 years of your life?
In my life?
In your life, and but religion to the side, finances to the side, what is one thing that you would want to happen in your life?
I expect to see a world where people can really learn to understand each other and get along. I really think that with social media, with the connectivity that we have in the world, people can learn that like you could be a Muslim, you could be a Jew, you could be a Christian, and like we can just do our thing and not be a threat to each other, get along. You know, I don't think we need to split people up and say, well, no, only Jews in this state, only Muslims in that state, only. I don't think it's got to be that way.
Live amongst each other and be able to we all believe in one thing or another. Why we can't just be supportive together and still have our own
think the world's getting better at that, despite all the friction and the growing pains.
It's getting better because
you and I are sitting down talking to each other. It's a big deal. That's what I think.
It's amazing. And do you mind if I ask you one more question?
That'll be $10. No, I'm kidding. Zing. That was solid, right?
That was a joke. That was fun. We did that. Yo, thank you, guys. Yo, thank you. Right, like I said, my name is Shaggy Don. Yeah, man. Listen, peace and blessings, and make sure everybody in the world, you know, we just need to come together, and all the differences just need to go out the window.
Unless they try to take your seat at Times Square.
Who?
Bust them up.
Yeah, man. Unless they
world peace is one thing.
Yes, world peace is one thing. But if they try to make you, you know, feel like you're less of a person, and injury is one thing. Look, you see Bumblebee, that's my bodyguard.
How's it going, my friend?
How are you?
I'm Rabbi Shoff. Yeah, come join me.
Thank you.
What's your name?
My name is Luke. Yeah.
It's good to meet you, Luke.
Thank you. So,
I saw an Instagram reel the other day, and it was about the Noahide Laws.
Yes.
And it said something about the president of the United States is going to go over there to, some Sanhedrin or whatever asked him to come over there for some international thing. I don't know if you know about that or not, but it had something to do with the Noahide Laws, and they were going to discuss that.
Okay,
so what do you explain to me the Noahide Laws?
Okay, first of all, what you heard about the Sanhedrin and these things, this is like these are little fringe groups.
I see.
The Jewish people has had Sanhedrin a couple thousand years ago.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore. We hope one day to be able to, become as independent enough as a nation that we can have a council of great rabbis, which is what Sanhedrin is. But right now we don't have that.
Okay.
Will
that
they're
happen
not
when
calling
the
President Trump. The Sanhedrin, right? The Sanhedrin is actually, it's like a Greek word that became part of Aramaic, and it means a big gathering.
Okay.
So the 120 most important thinkers of the community, which in Judaism was always rabbinic personalities.
Okay.
That was them, and they would decide things together for the nation,
Yeah.
almost like a Congress or something.
Okay. Makes sense.
We don't have one today. No one's calling Trump. That Noahide Laws
Interesting.
is, if you look in Genesis, after Noah came out of the ark, God made him a covenant with the rainbow, and he repeated 7 laws to him, which would have already been given to Adam, according to our tradition, which is, and here are the 7.
Yeah.
And these are laws for all humanity. They're considered rational laws. Any normal person who believes in morality, they don't have to become Jewish, and so forth.
Okay. So it's very similar to the Ten Commandments.
It's a different list.
Right.
Many things that are in the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments was given to the Jewish people, and not to all of humanity.
Right.
So that a Gentile is not expected to honor the Sabbath.
Right.
And other such
Very
things.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm a Baptist, and so things like this kind of impress me. I'm in seminary right now.
Good for you.
In Wisconsin. So looking.
So what's the
forward to it.
plan? What do you want to be?
Well, I believe God wants me to be a pastor. As a Baptist pastor somewhere in the United States, is most likely. I'm working on my MDiv next. I'm going to graduate here in May. So I'm very thankful
So
for
it's
that.
worth looking at these verses in Genesis.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly a directive to all of humanity who comes from Noah. And you're going to be in a position where not everyone you speak to is necessarily going to be ready yet for exactly your full message. But if you can start them, and this is what I believe also, there's so many important messages of how to live your life, how to be an ethical and good person that are directly out of God's word.
Yeah.
And they can be well received.
Yeah.
People will come up to me in the street, just seeing that I'm dressed Jewish, and immediately start hitting in on details of Trinity.
Right.
I respect that that's where they're coming from. But there are things that they could make a strong impact on that would be universal and move them in the direction.
And you see that as more important.
I see it. First of all, everything has to go in baby steps in real life. But the second thing is it's a message that will be received.
Right.
If I share what I just said with a Christian, that's something not only can we bond on, but we can walk away saying, I'm going to be more committed to reviewing those verses and knowing those laws and trying to be better at that. Which is not something that's going to happen necessarily if we start hitting with the most distinguishing factor.
I agree.
And people that are going to churches are often hearing a lot about details, and it's, what about be really kind and loving to your wife and children?
Yeah.
How often are they hearing that message again and again?
Good.
That's very significant because those broad concepts, we take it for granted. It's hard work. You're going to come home this week and your wife is going to be stressed out because she's taking care of the kids, and you being patient for 10 minutes is honoring God, and it's honoring her, and it's a holy act. Who's talking that way? The answer is Judaism is very busy with those things. We got 613 mitzvahs. So it's almost nothing that you're doing in your life that isn't a holy act and a mitzvah.
Right.
But a lot of the world doesn't hear that message. And I just want to bless you. You should be able to reach people with authentic knowledge of God and goodness and truth.
Yeah. And God's a very practical God too. So neat. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I like meeting you, Luke, and I like the Patriots.
Okay. Have a good one, sir.
Hello, my friend. Nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is Jeremy.
I'm Rabbi Shoff. Good to meet you, Jeremy. This is your mic. This picks you up. I got one on here.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. What's your name again?
Rabbi Shoff.
Rabbi
Shoff.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Shoff. Hi. I have some questions. I know what a rabbi is, like a Jewish scholar or teacher.
A teacher, right.
Studies about the Jewish laws. But what is an Orthodox rabbi? Is it very different?
That's a good question. Orthodox Judaism is the Judaism it's the ancient Judaism in the times of Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? The Jews were Orthodox Jews. And essentially hasn't changed. We believe we're obligated to follow what it says in the Bible. We believe that God gave, along with the written word, explanations to Moses So when he says keep the Sabbath, what is that? Is that Saturday? Is it Thursday? Is it what? Right. So we believe that those interpretations are still valid, and they were recorded in the Talmud. There are people who have come since then and made adjustments to how they understand Judaism. One group was called the Christians, and they started as Jews, and they had their own revelations that they understood. And since then, there have been some other groups. The most recent big change, there had been basically only Orthodox Jews for a long time. There was a small group called the Karaites for a while.
Or those Karaites.
So they existed in Egypt 1,000 years ago, and like they were more literalist about the Bible and didn't accept all the traditions. They kind of disappeared over the next few hundred years. And then we have now a group called Reform and Conservative Judaism. Those are big movements where they say, well, to be a Reform rabbi, you don't have to believe in God. You can believe in... So to me, it feels like someone saying, I'm a Christian, I just don't believe in Jesus. So no, then you're a new thing, and I can respect that new thing, and I'm not mad at you. But so to Orthodox Jews, it's tricky to say that Reform or conservative beliefs are traditional Jewish beliefs. They're new things. I can respect that somebody has that belief. There certainly are some Reform people who do believe in God, but it's a very different perspective on did he write the Torah? Does he have expectations of us in terms of our behavior and keeping the law and so forth? So that's Orthodox Judaism essentially means traditional ancient Judaism in an unbroken way as best we can.
Right.
And that's me. I'm one of those guys. What about yourself?
Well, I'm not really Jewish. I live here, yeah.
In Manhattan?
Yeah, no. Well, born here, yes, and in Bellevue Hospital. Even though I'm living in Queens in a part called Glendale, I'm Ecuadorian. I'm Ecuadorian.
You're from Ecuador.
Yeah, my parents.
I mean, your parents are from there, right?
Yeah.
Queens is the most diverse, beautiful place.
Yeah, that's why there's like many. That's why when New York is like very diverse, I'm very like curious about their culture, their heritage, and their activities based on their culture.
Sure. Is there anything that you must see Orthodox Jews around Queens all the time?
I've never seen one.
Not so much.
There.
Not so much. Really, I guess in Kew Gardens and Forest Hills and Kew Gardens Hills.
I did see ones in Bay Ridge.
So do you have it? I mean, but is this your first interaction?
I mean, first
with
time
somebody with a yarmulke?
Well, first time in this interview.
Cool. Well, it was good to meet you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
What else? I feel like you have something else you want to say or ask or.
And what year it started the Orthodox?
When God came to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai, which is the year 2448 after creation, according to the Bible's timeline. So about 3,300 years ago is when Jewish people started observing the law, which is what God told them to do, keep the Torah. And we haven't changed.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. Shalom.
Shalom. Bless you. How are you, my friend?
Hi,
this is going to be for you to hold because I've got a mic on my lapel.
Nice.
And this will pick up what you're saying.
Nice. I only have like 3 minutes because I got to
3 minutes is perfect.
But all I was going to say is I don't know anything. So like, what does that even mean?
To be an Orthodox Jew.
Yeah.
So are you religious yourself?
Yeah.
What religion do you participate in?
LDS. So.
Okay, wonderful. So then you believe that there was a God who revealed himself to Moses and the Israelites in the desert.
Yes.
Right? And he gave them the Torah. Right? Gave them the commandment. This is the old, what's referred to as the Old Testament.
Yep.
And we believe that there was no such thing as Jesus coming to change the covenant.
Okay.
So Jesus himself was an Orthodox Jew.
Yeah.
He observed the Torah the very same way that we still do to this day. And we essentially believe that Christianity was a new movement that was created by human beings.
Okay.
And that God didn't reveal himself to Jesus at all, or to Paul, or to any of that.
So it's like a common ancestry here.
Right. We all, if you were to discover that this was correct, the Bible is all true except Christianity isn't right, then you would go back to doing exactly what I'm doing. Following the Old Testament, all the laws, all the Jewish holidays. And we say, listen, this is the point of disagreement. And then LDS came and said, there was another revelation, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? It was another revelation, and the Christians disagree with that. The rest of the Christian church,
like your born agains and whatnot.
Right? Everybody that's not LDS or Mormon, right, doesn't accept that part. So we're that same original.
Just on the flip side.
So in other words, on the other hand, I find.
So.
I would just tell you in terms of how our families work and how we're very focused on very similar values, modesty and so many other things. I see that there are a lot of tremendous similarities between LDS and the way Orthodox Jews practically live their lives.
So is what you're describing primarily the Orthodox part or the Jew part?
So Judaism, Orthodox Judaism,
Yeah.
is an unchanged version as best as possible
Okay,
from
okay.
the original. So there have been new movements that say, well, we're still Jewish, but we don't think this, we don't think that, we don't believe in God, we don't believe... to be a Reformed rabbi, you do not have to say that you believe in God. So it's just a new religion, basically.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when somebody says, we're Christians, but we don't believe in Christ.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what you are then. Then you're a new thing, and I can respect you for that and love you. But,
Well, I appreciate you taking a minute. I am with a group who is now gathering, so I got to head over there.
okay.
But pleasure.
God bless you.
You too.
My friends, I'm here with Rabbi Shoff. And why are we doing these Ask Me Anythings? Times Square, New Jersey, he did it in LA. I'll tell you why. We're doing peace through education. It is important that people in the world know actually the facts about Jewish people. Isn't that so?
It's important.
And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're braving the cold weather and the hot weather. And we're going to be sending you to some crazy places, right?
Like where?
Syria, Turkey.
Wow.
You ready to go?
Istanbul, here we come.
But keep watching, keep liking, comment down below. And of course, if any question that you have for Rabbi Shoff, down below in the comments, leave it there and we'll try to answer it on the next episode.
If you can take a selfie video of a question that you have and we can hear it, we will feature you on a mini episode. That was a nice looking yarmulke under there. Yeah, it's from what?
It's from a company called Maya Works. It's this
Maya Works.
Maya Works. It's a
Maya Works.
group of native Maya women, I believe.
Who make yarmulkes?
They make yarmulkes.
Why?
They just happen to.
For Jews.
For Jews.
Mayan traditional. Can I see it again?
Absolutely.
I see the Mayan influence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty rad. What made you start doing this? I'm going to ask you everything.
I have a good friend named Joe Abacera, who's a big social media influencer. And when I was teaching 11th grade, he was in my class, and then I taught him in 12th grade, and we became very good buddies. And he says, Rabbi Shoff, you got to get out there. You got to be out there. You have the personality for it. You should do it. And I resisted for a while. And they said, look, we're going to film it. You don't have to use it. Just get out there. And I said, okay, you know what? You send the crew. I'll go to Venice Beach. I'll film a video. And then when we posted it up, it just like quickly got 100,000 views and people were interested. And I realized like maybe this is a way to spread Kvod Shemayim. Maybe this is something that can be, you know, positive for the Jewish cause and for, and it's an authentic expression of my personality. I like it. I'm an Orthodox Rabbi. I have a shul in Los Angeles that I'm the rabbi of, and I spend a lot of time learning and writing and working with the community and things I love. But I also like people, and so I'm from the yeshivish world for sure. That's why I was trained, but that's it's such a broad camp. So in America, it's like the black hat world, but we cast a wide net, and we love everyone. And like, I don't really like any of these labels, really. Because people are people, they're not labels. Yeah. At the same time, it can sometimes just be helpful. Like you're asking that question just to get a sense of, as long as they're not used to divide us, they're awesome. But like, we're all so connected. What, you know? What about yourself? You look like you got a story.
I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida area, born in Miami. My dad grew up from Chabad. My mom did not. So I was brought up in a very conflicted Jewish world.
Meaning, as you were being raised,
Yes.
you had a mother who wasn't connected to observance and a father who was religious Chabad?
Yes, but even he sort of resented it because you know how stringent his parents were.
Oh, I see.
You have to study, you have to study, you have to study. Well, you like beat anybody into submission the second they get any freedom, they're going to run as far away from Torah as they can.
Wow.
Right? So I didn't know what I was.
Right, and just from the way until you showed the yarmulke, I noticed some interesting tattoos. I mean, I noticed a big smile for sure. And so it seems like you have a very nuanced personality.
I tried, thank you. I came back, started doing teshuva about a year and a half ago.
How did you do that? Who was your community to do it with? It takes a village, right?
I grew up in a Chabad from when I was like 4 years old. They watched me come and go, and go practice voodoo for a while and then come.
Did you really practice
study
voodoo?
daf yomi. Yeah.
Did you have the dolls and the pins and?
I did the whole thing, the root work. At one point, I was a practicing Buddhist. I tried to find holiness in all of its facets.
Wow.
And
all roads led you somehow.
Found myself at a Grateful Dead show a year and change ago. Did a whole bunch of acid and suddenly found out that, hey, the truth is the truth.
I mean, anything you discover from acid's got to be.
I guess so. It's got to.
That's funny.
The acid's worn off, but the truth hasn't. So at least there's that.
Wow. Can you play like a Chabad niggin or something? Something like this? That would bring so much holiness to. My shemes, my shemes. Oh yeah. You gotta catch that on the camera, no? Did you catch the dancing? No. That was beautiful.
Great conversation.
That was so much fun. One more. What did you grow up here in shul? We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach. We want Mashiach. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה. בביאת המשיח. We want Mashiach. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach. We want Mashiach now. That's a huge Kiddush Hashem. I really enjoyed meeting you.
Pleasure was all mine, really.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Where's your shul in LA?
It is in Pico Robertson area. It's called BKLA, Base Knesset of Los Angeles.
I'm going to come visit you.
You'll be a guest of honor. You will be a guest of honor. Remind me your name.
Darren, Eliyahu.
Eliyahu, Darren. What an honor.
Keep doing the kiruv and fighting off the haters. And you're important, man.
Thank you. You're the best. Here you go.
I have a question and a comment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, first of all, you Chabad.
I am not Chabad, but I have a lot of love for Chabad.
Okay, just question. Okay, so I have a student. I work at Mizrahi, which is a school in Cleveland. And one student said, I have a question about the song Dayenu in the Haggadah. He said, I don't really believe it's true. None of those things by themselves is a really Dayenu. We wouldn't be the people we are today just with one Dayenu.
That part I agree with for sure.
So how do we explain? And I said, you know what? It's a song. It's a song that we tell we're complimenting Hashem for all the things He did. I don't think it was meant to be that.
The first thing I would tell that beautiful child is that, what a beautiful question. Our whole religion is based upon taking the song seriously enough to ask a question and then thinking it over. So if it took you 10 years to come up with a good answer, that would be a deep religious process. I mean, how many answers did you and I get in our lives in the first 5 minutes after the question?
Okay.
So to let them feel rich and good because they had a good Jewish question will be such a gift for them. And I'm sure you do that as a teacher. And I always remind myself, my kids ask me a question, just soak in that. Like, that's beautiful. You're a good kid. So that's one thing. And I would say this. I would say that Dayenu means it would be enough for us to have endless gratitude. We wouldn't be the people we were if we didn't stand at Sinai and get the Torah. Right. But we would be endlessly grateful to God for getting out of Egypt, for watching the splitting of the sea. That itself is so rich. And look what we have. We're a people that are multifaceted, and we're great, and we're holy. So if Dayenu means we'd be just who we are today with only one of these experiences, then you're right. And that's where his question's coming from. But if you just think about it, and I would only caution, you're an advanced adult who has the nuance to understand what's a song and what's a verse in the Bible and what's one of the 10 Commandments. But to a child, if something's there in the Haggadah, It's precious. It's true. And we don't want to, that's Santa Claus.
Right.
There are other religions where they teach false things and then let them in on the secret later.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
Right.
So we want to make sure, don't say, I mean, what you could say to an adult is like, well, it's a song, so you take it as poetry.
But take it more seriously.
Right? Like, it's real, and Diana is, to him and the Ten Commandments, he doesn't understand the difference. So, a kid who comes from school says, my teacher told me this. You say, teachers don't know anything. You know how hard that's going to make your job the next day when you teach. So it's true. You and I have probably taught something that wasn't exactly, but the parent has to say, you know what? I'm sure your teacher knew what they're talking about, but I don't understand it either, and I'll ask them. And maintaining that healthy reverence with the questioning, that's going to keep our Judaism, and you'll pass more to these beautiful children.
And I have a comment. I'm very concerned about this Egel Zahav that is in the White House right now. I feel like he is being worshipped, and it scares me. It scares me not for me. I'm at the end of my life. It scares me for my grandchildren.
Yeah.
What is this world becoming? No more moral.
There is a verse in Psalms, which we say every day in the prayers, Al tiftichu b'nedivim, do not trust in politicians. Beven adam she'ein lo teshua. Human beings cannot save anybody. So it doesn't mean that we don't treat with respect or gratitude those politicians who stand up for us, which is indeed what's happening with the White House. They're standing up for us solidly and clearly. That doesn't mean that everything they do is good. We don't trust in them, we trust in God. And that's a very important nuance and balance.
I don't like the idea that Jews, I would never vote for him, but I don't like the ideas, especially that Orthodox Jews stood behind him.
Yes, I solidly support.
Me.
Yeah.
It scares me.
It's very
He
important.
said that the day when they've got the day before he's in, they're going to get rid of the hostages and come back. That clearly didn't happen. He's not a magician. But the person that he is does not represent who we are as people.
That's for sure true. And that was also true about every politician of the last 50 years.
I've heard that, but this one's somehow worse. I feel like he is really, he doesn't even pretend to be respectful.
There's some truth to that.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. May you have a wonderful
You're very welcome. I think us being able to, this last conversation, for us to be able to have that conversation and smile at one another and know that there's a good person who sincerely believes this on either side of that conversation is somehow sometimes missing in the Jewish discourse.
Yes.
So God bless you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. I'm Jeff.
It's good to meet you, Jeff. I'm Rabbi Shoff.
Nice to meet you. So I have a question. I've often wondered, what is the significance of the haircut with the curl?
Oh, wow. Okay, so in the Old Testament,
Okay.
it says explicitly as one of the commandments that a person should round off, in other words, cut very short the corners of their head. And you'll notice, like the priest of old who had those interesting haircuts, like the San Diego Padres guy, So this was something that was done for idolatrous purposes. And the Torah requires Jews to not fully cut their beard all the way down with a straight razor in certain corners, and also not to cut the hair over here all the way down. So we'll cut it down to like a number 2. But there were some groups within Judaism, the Yemenites, for example, who decided to grow them long as what they called simanim, which means like they're proud signals of their Judaism. Okay. So not only do we not cut them, we leave them long. The Hasidic movement within Judaism adapted that. And therefore it became like a dress code, a way that they are proud to announce wherever they go that I'm a Jew. And that's been very important for us because...
And that must be a different sect from...
That's right. So in other words, what we say, listen, it's a negative commandment. So as long as I don't cut it all the way down, so I keep it pretty short. But on the other hand, I would just tell you that being proud of who you are can be very challenging when you're a persecuted minority who's seen as the killers of God himself. And if you kill God, you'll do anything. You understand? You'll do anything. Yeah. And so it's difficult to live in a society where everyone would kind of often spit at you and look at you, and you keep getting thrown out of countries and cities, and to develop an internal pride of like, whatever anyone in the world says about me, I know that I'm worth it. And I know. So having external symbols, dressing a part that says, many Jews will walk through Times Square and they'll make sure not to wear their yarmulke or to cover it with a baseball cap.
That's too bad.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So there's those Hasidic groups where they say, we're going to dress proudly in our ancestral, and they won't wear a short jacket, they wear a long one. Yeah. Because I think that understanding the sociological history of how important those emotions are for the Jews would help us understand why they dress like that and why that becomes such a part of why many of them have kept the language Yiddish, which was, it was a vernacular that the Jews spoke that was mixed with a little German, a little Russian, a little Polish. Many of them still raise their children and they speak only Yiddish, which Yid means Jew, so it's Jewish. That's the name of that language. And I understand where that comes from. And every group has to find their own nuance in how do you be part of real society that you're in, while at the same time maintaining your integrity. And that's part of what they've done. And I think that, I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's not how I'm raising my kids exactly. But I think it's beautiful and I admire it. And
Well, I don't think you can run from who you are in any sect, right? So
it could take a lifetime of figuring it out, though, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
So one other thought I have is so you're Orthodox, which is original, right?
Yes.
There's many different types of Christianity, right? Like Catholic and then all of the Protestants. How many sects are there of the Judaism faith?
Oh, what a hard question. I don't know.
And I know there's a lot of subsects, but
right. I would say that the major groups that I'm aware of today, that are around today, is Orthodox, Conservative, Reform. And then there are others that are in the space of what they call renewal, Reconstructionist. From my perspective, if you're a Christian, but you don't believe in Christ, then I can't really call your beliefs Christian.
Yeah.
They can be respectful, they can be wonderful, but they're a different thing. From the perspective of an Orthodox Jew, if you don't believe that the God who gave the Torah to the Jews at Sinai, and that the Bible is divine, or even divinely inspired in the prophets, then I don't see how Reform or Reconstructionists can call themselves Jewish. I don't understand. I mean, the people are Jewish because Judaism is also, and they're as Jewish, whether they observe the Torah,
heritage, right?
that's right, and that's real. But in terms of I don't mean that call themselves Jewish. If I said that, it's I mean to call those beliefs Jewish beliefs. A Jew who believes in Christianity is a Jew, but his beliefs are not Jewish anymore, according to, except for the Jews for Jesus. So those are my thoughts. But
it gets really messy when you think that the three major ones, the Islam, the Judaism, the Christianity, all go back to Abraham.
Yeah. We're a lot closer than we realize in a lot of
And
things.
there's the other. These are just my thoughts. I'm a social studies teacher, by the way, so I love talking this stuff. If there is one formless, shapeless being, aren't we all worshiping the same person or being? Rather?
If we believe in an infinite God, one person, one being, person's the wrong word, but personhood. The minute that somebody gets to a Trinity, it gets challenging to figure out, is this a different set of beliefs or not? In my opinion, and Judaism says that for Gentiles, it is not prohibited to worship one and three, three and one. Because even Aquinas, who was an early church father, what he said, I think, is still accepted, that the Trinity is something that no human being can really understand. Yeah. So if that's the case, if nobody can really understand it, how can I say you're not believing in one God? If you're saying, look, I know I have to say it's one and three, I don't really know what it means, so then we're believing in one. That's how Judaism treats it for Gentiles. For Jews, on the other hand, we don't just have basic laws, the 7 basic laws of humanity, we have 613, and it gets very nuanced. So for a Jew to worship something that's a Trinity would be against the Torah. But for a Gentile, the expectation is more limited. It's like if you accept God, we don't ask you to get into the nuances in the same way that we require.
What is kosher?
Kosher is the Bible. The Bible has dietary laws, and it says which animals you can and cannot eat. It says, according to the way the oral tradition has explained it since Sinai, is that there's a special way to slaughter the animals as well. So you have to kill them in a certain painless way by severing the arteries at the neck in one fell swoop.
So that's kosher.
That's kosher. Kosher is that we don't eat lobsters and we don't eat pig and even the kosher meat. And nowadays, in order to know that things are kosher, it's got to be supervised. So if someone's serving you chicken and says it's kosher, how do you know? Who says?
Yeah.
So we have, you go to a restaurant and there'll be kosher supervision. So there'll be different companies. You go to the supermarket and see these with a little circle and a U inside. That's one of the kosher symbols. And Cheerios will pay for that. And now they have people coming to supervise their factories. And then all Jews who keep kosher can buy Cheerios.
Good.
So, yeah.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
It's been nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I guess that wraps up another incredibly invigorating session of Ask Me Anything. We had such a nice time. We met all kinds of interesting people. Don't forget, of course, to visit our friends at Skive. You'll see their link in the show notes. And you're going to want to visit our sponsor, Skive, because they're our sponsor. And they're close to our heart. and they're fantastic. We had a blast. It was fun. It was meaningful. I think there were some genuine moments of human connection. But this is not the end. It may be the end of this episode, but I'm pleased to announce that coming soon is a podcast answering your questions. A podcast that's going to be like no other. It's really going to be special and unique, entertaining, positive, and you're going to want to be an early adopter of this. Get in soon to the new podcast, Through Meaningful Minute with Rabbi Shoff, where there's always something exciting coming out of Meaningful Minute. It's an honor to be part of it, and the sky's the limit.